Chapter 34-32 Yuhua Sect The Third Heaven, the Dragonfire Domain of the 19 Northwest Territories. This Dragonfire Domain was the most unique existence among the 19 Northwest Territories. This was because the other 18 territories were under the control of the illusionary Moon Sky Sect and the Burning Heart Sky Sect. Only this Dragonfire Domain was not under the control of the two great Sky Sects. However, it was sandwiched between the territories of the two great Sky Sects. The situation was naturally quite delicate. However, it was also because the Dragonfire Domain was not under the control of the two great celestial sects that many experts from the surrounding territories had come here. Some of them had established their own forces and sects here, therefore, there were many more experts in the Dragonfire Domain than in the other territories. There were many large and small forces in the Dragonfire Domain. Among them, the strongest ones were the three great sects. These three great sects were the Azure Demon Divine Hall, the U Palace. Among the three great sects, the Azure Demon Divine Hall was the strongest, the other two great sects were second, and each of these three great sects had several principals masters overseeing them. At this moment, within one of the three great sects, the Yuhua sect. Within the grand ceremony, the three principals masters of the Yuhua sect gathered here. Their expressions were extremely unsightly. The news has already been confirmed. The Azure Demon Divine Hall was indeed the one who destroyed the Crimson Water Island. Moreover, they were able to destroy the island with ease. After destroying the Crimson Water Island, the Azure Demon Divine Hall still has the intention to attack the surrounding sects, a middle-aged man with long green hair said in a low voice. The Azure Demon Divine Hall is finally unable to hold back anymore. Sect Master Yuhua clenched his hands tightly, his expression cold. This is within expectations. The Azure Demon Divine Hall's strength is already much stronger than the other factions in the Dragonfire Domain. Even our U Palace is still quite a distance away from them. Not long ago, there was news that the Azure Demon Divine Hall had obtained a fortuitous encounter, and his strength has increased by another step, reaching the 5th level of the Void Realm, the 5th level of the Void Realm. This is already one of the top experts. No one in our Dragonfire Domain can contend against him. The Azure Demon Divine Hall naturally doesn't have to worry about anything. They will directly start to annex the other sects and factions around them, the white-robed woman said in a deep voice. The Azure Demon Divine Hall has only destroyed one Crimson Water Island. It won't be long before the Azure Demon Divine Hall acts against the other sects and factions. In the end, they will naturally not let us, the U Palace and the Ascendant sect off. With our current strength, we have no chance of winning against the Azure Demon Divine Hall. When they heard this, both Sect Master Yuhua and the middle-aged man with long green hair fell silent. Indeed, although the Yuhua sect was one of the three great sects in the Dragonfire Domain, their strength was far inferior to that of the Azure Demon Divine Hall. Usually, the strongest Azure Demon of the Azure Demon Divine Hall was only at the peak of the Void 4th stage, although it was much stronger than the peak of the Void 3rd stage of Sect Master Yuhua. Azure Demon was not confident that he could kill the Sect Master Yuhua. Hence, the Azure Demon Divine Hall had been restraining itself. However, now that Azure Demon had reached the Void 5th stage, his strength had soared. If they were to fight head-on, Azure Demon had a chance to kill Sect Master Yuhua. After all, there was a gap of 2 levels between the Void 3rd stage and the Void 5th stage. What about the Great U Palace? They should have also noticed the movements of the Azure Demon Divine Hall, right? Sect Master Yuhua asked. Of course they have. However, when I sent a message to ask, the Great U Palace still appeared rather calm, the middle-aged man with long green hair said. Of course, they are calm. After all, the Palace Master of the Great U Palace has already reached the 4th stage of the Void Realm. Furthermore, he has an extremely powerful supreme treasure in his hands. Even if that Azure Demon has already reached the 5th stage of the Void Realm, he still can't do anything to the Palace Master of the Great U Palace. Hence, the Azure Demon Divine Hall will more or less have some misgivings toward the Great U Palace. The Great U Palace knows this as well, Sect Master Yuhua said with a cold snort. But if the Azure Demon Divine Hall succeeds and annihilates all the other sects in the Dragonfire Domain, including my Yuhua sect, then only Yu Palace will remain. Sooner or later, it will be swallowed by the Azure Demon Divine Hall, the white-robed woman said. Who knows what that old fellow from Yu Palace is thinking? Sect Master Yu Hua said in a low voice. The three principals masters of Yu Hua were all very worried about the Azure Demon Divine Hall at this moment, but at this moment, a unique aura suddenly swept over. The three principals masters immediately sensed this aura, and at the same time, they discovered that the surrounding void began to faintly tremble. What's going on? Sect Master Yu Hua immediately raised his head. This aura came from that direction, and it seems to be very far away, the white-robed woman said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. What a huge commotion. The green-haired middle-aged man looked surprised. It's still coming from within Yu Hua despite being so far away. Such a huge commotion. Could it be that a universe true treasure has been born? Sect Master Yu Hua's eyes immediately lit up. This aura does seem to be coming from the birth of a true treasure, said the white-robed woman. If it is a true treasure, said the middle-aged man with long green hair, then it must be an extraordinary true treasure. It might be a top-tier true treasure. Haha, the heavens are really on our side. We were worried that we wouldn't be able to face Green Demon Godly Palace. Now, a top-tier true treasure is attacking us. If I can get my hands on that top-tier true treasure, I might be able to raise my combat power to the next level, which is comparable to the 4 levels of the void space. I won't be too afraid even if Green Demon attacks me personally, said Sect Master Yu Hua. He immediately gave the order. Let's go. Well, rush over immediately. Without any hesitation, the three principals masters of the Yu Hua immediately rushed toward the source of the disturbance. The three of them pushed their speed to the limit, afraid that others would get there first. As they flew at high speed, the three principals masters of Yu Hua still used nearly 15 minutes to get close to the source of that unique aura. This place is so remote. The green-haired middle-aged man looked around. The more remote the place is, the more likely it is that a true treasure will be born. And from the looks of it, the three of us should be the first to arrive here. That true treasure is ours. Yu Hua Sect Master looked eager. The true treasure is in that mountain range, in that direction. The white-robed woman pointed in a direction of the mountain range in front of them. The three of them were ready to rush there. But before they could get close to the mountain range, "Stop, you three!" A voice suddenly sounded in their ears, and then a figure appeared in front of the three principals masters. This person was carrying a long sword on his back, and the muscles on his face were wriggling. It was obvious that he had changed his appearance. This person was naturally Jian Wushuang, who was staying around the mountain range to protect Demon Master Chunhua and Zhao Mang. Chapter 34-33 People Who Block the Way. The three people who were excited immediately stopped. When they saw Jian Wushuang in front of them, their pupils constricted. "Who are you?" Sect Master Yu Hua asked in a low voice. "It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is that you must have been attracted by the noise coming from the center of the mountain range, right? If I'm not mistaken, you must have thought that a supreme treasure was born here, right?" Jian Wushuang said indifferently. "Yes." Sect Master Yu Hua nodded. "In that case, please go back. The noise was not caused by the birth of the supreme treasure. It was caused by a friend of mine who was in closed-door cultivation in the mountain range," Jian Wushuang said. "Nonsense!" Sect Master Yu Hua shouted. "This aura is so unique. It must be caused by the birth of the supreme treasure. How could it be caused by a cultivator in closed-door cultivation? Also, did you just say that it was your friend who was in seclusion? But this aura spread so widely and created such a big commotion. To create such a big commotion, the person in seclusion must be at least a top expert of the 4th or even the 5th realm of the void. You, a mere saint, are not qualified to be friends with such an expert. You are clearly lying. Your Excellency," Jian Wushuang was about to explain. "Shut up!" The middle-aged man with long green hair shouted, "A mere saint dares to block our way. He's really courting death." As soon as he finished his words, the middle-aged man with long green hair trembled, and an aura of the third realm of the void instantly burst out. The three principals masters of the Yuhua sect were all quite strong. Among them, the Yuhua sect master was already at the peak of the third realm of the void, and the middle-aged man with long green hair had just reached the third realm of the void. Only the white-robed woman was slightly weaker, however, she was also at the peak of the second realm of the void realm. Now, as soon as the middle-aged man with long green hair revealed his aura, he immediately transformed into a fierce beast and rushed toward Jian Wushuang, intending to kill him. It seems that I can't let them leave just by talking. In that case, I'll have to beat them back. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold, and he suddenly rushed forward. In an instant, he was in front of the green-haired middle-aged man. At the same time, the long sword behind him had been unsheathed. An immortal saint and a principal's master of the third realm of the void collided in an instant. Peerless sword technique, Shi Xiong. Blood Mountain sword slashed out ferociously. In an instant, a scarlet sword light, like a blood-red lightning, easily tore through space and slashed toward the green-haired middle-aged man with a shocking power. The green-haired middle-aged man had originally intended to kill Jian Wushuang, so he did not hold back because Jian Wushuang was just an immortal saint. He waved his saber, which also turned into dazzling golden light. It was extremely gorgeous. The two suddenly collided. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Clang. A crisp sound of collision rang out, and the surrounding space directly cracked. It should be known that Jian Wushuang had already activated his life divine power. Although he had not used the heaven cleaving skill, he could control 3 parts of the power of his will. With the life divine power and the Shi Xiong move, the power of the explosion was definitely not weaker than that of an expert at the peak of the fourth void realm. The cyan-haired middle-aged man had just reached the third void realm. At the moment of the collision, the cyan-haired middle-aged man's saber was instantly slashed in a different direction by the terrifying power contained in the blood-red sword light. However, the blood-red sword light did not lose its momentum and directly hit his divine body. Bang! The sword light swept over, and the terrifying power instantly smashed the god body of the middle-aged man with long green hair into pieces. The divine body of the middle-aged man with long green hair also immediately collapsed and turned into a sky full of divine power. This divine power rapidly gathered in the void. After a moment, it gathered again, and the figure of the middle-aged man with long green hair appeared again. However, at this moment, his face was filled with astonishment. Behind him, Sect Master Yuhua and the white-robed woman also widened their eyes in disbelief. A void third-level principal's master was fighting head-on with an immortal saint. Moreover, they were fighting head-on. In the end, in an instant, this void third-level divine body was smashed into pieces. What kind of situation was this? Could this person be an extremely terrifying principal's master? Is he intentionally concealing his aura? Sect Master Yuhua could not help but ask. That's not right. If he really is the principal's master who intentionally concealed his aura, then no matter how well he concealed his aura, once he attacked, that divine power aura wouldn't be able to be concealed. However, the divine power aura on his body is indeed at the level of an immortal saint. Even when he waved his sword, it was still the same. However, he's just an immortal saint, the white-robed woman said. There's only one immortal saint in the divine beginning realm. The white-robed woman suddenly raised her head. Oman Heavenly Sword Marquis. Hez Heavenly Sword Marquis. Sect Master Yuhua, the white-robed woman, and the middle-aged man with long green hair, who had just been defeated by his divine body, all stared at Jian Wushuang. Seeing that the 3 of them had already said his name, Jian Wushuang felt helpless. He had come to the third heaven because he did not want to be too ostentatious, so he deliberately changed his appearance. Even if someone provoked him, he usually did not make a move and let Demon Master Chunhua deal with them. But now, Demon Master Chunhua and Zhao Mang were in the cave mansion in the mountain range. He had to protect them and deal with the 3 principals masters. Once he made a move, his identity would naturally be exposed. 3 of you, I have no intention of making an enemy of you. However, it is true that a good friend of mine is in seclusion in the cave mansion. I am guarding him outside. During his seclusion, no one is allowed to disturb him. So, the three of you should leave, Jian Wushuang said calmly. The three principals masters of the Yuhua sect had gathered together, but at the moment, their expressions were very serious. At the same time, they were secretly discussing. I didn't expect that the immortal saint was Heavenly Sword Marquis. And his strength is indeed as terrifying as the rumors say. No, he should be stronger than the rumors say. The green-haired middle-aged man said in a low voice, I had already used all my strength to attack just now, but in a head-on clash with him, I was completely crushed by him in terms of power. Moreover, my divine body was instantly destroyed. I'm sure that the power that the Heavenly Sword Marquis sword just released in an instant has already surpassed most of the experts of the Void Fourth Realm. It has even reached the peak of the Void Fourth Realm. With such strength, even if the three of us attacked at the same time, we might not be able to contend against him. The strength of Heavenly Sword Marquis is obvious. If the three of us choose to fight him head-on, it would definitely be irrational, the white-robed woman added. Chapter 34 One man against a wall in the vast void space. The three principals masters of Yuhua sect were gathered there, and the one standing in front of them was only an immortal saint. However, the three principals masters still felt tremendous pressure. Two of you, do you think what Heavenly Sword Marquis said is true? Sect Master Yuhua looked at the two people around him. Of course, it must be false. Such a commotion is obviously caused by the birth of a supreme treasure. How could it be caused by a powerful warrior in seclusion? The middle-aged man with long green hair said. I think so too. Heavenly Sword Marquis must have sensed the birth of a supreme treasure just like us and rushed here. He was just one step ahead of us. Because the supreme treasure hasn't been fully born yet, he came out to ask us to leave, the white-robed woman said. We all think that Heavenly Sword Marquis is lying, but his strength is obvious. It won't be easy for us to get the supreme treasure from him. The green-haired middle-aged man frowned. With the strength that Jian Wushuang had just displayed, even if the three of them attacked together, they would probably be defeated by Jian Wushuang. There's no rush. The appearance of this supreme treasure is so big that the entire Dragonfire domain will probably be alarmed. We, the Yuhua sect, are the first to arrive because we are close to this place. However, as expected, many experts from the other two sects and the Dragonfire domain should have also arrived. Heavenly Sword Marquis can block us, but I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to block all the experts from the Dragonfire domain, Sect Master Yuhua said. But if we wait for the other experts from the Dragonfire domain, the Yu Palace and the Green Demon Divine Palace to arrive, then we won't have the advantage of fighting for the supreme treasure, the white-robed woman said in a low voice. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, think of a solution when the time comes. Let's retreat to the side for now. After Sect Master Yuhua made his decision, the three of them flew directly to the side. Jian Wushuang had been paying attention to the movements of the three of them, so he naturally saw their movements. Although the three of them have retreated, they didn't go too far. Instead, they just stayed around. It seems that they don't believe what I said and still want to wait for an opportunity. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly. He felt quite helpless in his heart. He knew very well that the commotion caused by Demon Master Chunhua and Zhao Mang was like the birth of a top-tier treasure. Although he had explained to the three of them, it was still too difficult for them to believe him. Now, the three of them had retreated to the side temporarily because they were afraid of his strength. However, it was clear that they had no intention of leaving. Instead, they were waiting for an opportunity and for other experts to arrive. As expected, not long after, another expert was attracted by the unique aura and rushed to this mountain range. This time, it was only a solitary expert with the strength of the third realm of the void. After arriving, this solitary principal's master, like the Yuhua sect, attempted to enter the cave mansion that emitted the aura to investigate. Of course, he was immediately stopped by Jian Wushuang. A solitary expert of the third realm of the void was easily crushed by Jian Wushuang. He had no choice but to retreat to the side, but he did not leave either. As time passed, more and more experts were attracted by the unique aura. Apart from Yuhua sect, most of the principal's masters who stood at the top of the Dragonfire domain were attracted. However, most of them were solitary principal's masters. There were not many of them, so they came one by one. They were all easily blocked by Jian Wushuang. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed since the commotion in the cave mansion. At this moment, there were already 8 principals masters gathered around the cave mansion. In addition, there were many immortal saints. After these immortal saints arrived and saw the situation in front of them, they knew that they had no ability to compete. However, they did not intend to leave. Instead, they stayed to watch the show. More and more experts are coming. Jian Wushuang stood in the void in front of the cave mansion and spread his soul power, watching all the experts around him. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. There are 8 principals masters here. Although most of them are not strong, they can cause me some trouble if they join hands. Moreover, there are still experts coming. It won't be long before all the experts in the Dragon Fire domain come here. This is not small trouble. Jian Wushuang sighed. At this moment, Jian Wushuang noticed that there were 4 principals masters in the void in front of him. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and immediately went up to meet them. Bang! With a violent boom, a 5-meter-wide spatial black hole appeared in the void, crazily devouring everything. The 4 principals masters had also stopped. Heavenly Sword Marquis, Yu Palace doesn't want to be your enemy. However, the supreme treasure in the middle of the mountain range is not something you can occupy alone. Get out of the way, or don't blame me for being rude. A burly red-browed elder stared at Jian Wushuang. He stared at Jian Wushuang. The red-browed elder was the palace master of Yu Palace, an expert who had reached the 4th realm of the void. Palace Master Yu, I've told you that there are no supreme treasures in this mountain range. You've made a mistake, so I advise you to leave as soon as possible, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Humph, you're too stubborn. Palace Master Yu obviously did not believe Jian Wushuang's words. He snorted and a large amount of red flames burst out from his body, causing the entire world to sink into a sea of red flames. Palace Master Yu's figure suddenly flashed, and the scarlet hammer in his hand fiercely smashed toward Jian Wushuang as if it could split the heaven and earth apart. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold, and he immediately attacked. Clang! Clang! Bang! In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang and Palace Master Yu collided 3 times in the void. The 3 collisions were head-on and head-on. In the first collision, Palace Master Yu's body trembled and he immediately sank. In the second collision, the scarlet hammer in Palace Master Yu's hand was thrown away. In the third collision, Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword was not hindered at all. It directly struck Palace Master Yu's divine body, causing it to collapse by more than half. He also retreated in a sorry state. In the blink of an eye, the battle between the two had been decided. Palace Master Yu was completely defeated. The terrifying strength Jian Wushuang displayed in this battle also frightened the people from the palace and the surrounding spectators. In the end, the 4 people from the palace had no choice but to retreat to the side temporarily. Yu the Great. Just as they retreated to the edge, the 3 principals masters of the Yu Hua sect walked over. Chapter 34-35 Azure Demon Divine Hall Sect Master Yu Hua. How long have you been here? Palace Master Uda looked at the 3 people from Yu Hua sect who had arrived. It has already been more than 2 hours. Other than Heavenly Sword Marquis, our Yu Hua sect was the first to arrive. However, after we arrived, we were blocked by Heavenly Sword Marquis, so we had no way to come into contact with the cave abode, Sect Master Yu Hua said. In other words, you don't know what's inside the cave abode? Palace Master Uda asked. We don't. Among all the people present, Heavenly Sword Marquis is probably the only one who knows. However, Heavenly Sword Marquis said that a good friend of his was in seclusion inside the cave abode. The movements in the surroundings were also sent by that good friend of his. I don't really believe this reason, said Sect Master Yu Hua. I don't believe it either. Palace Master Uda also said solemnly, but as you can see, this Heavenly Marquis Jian is terrifyingly strong. He defeated me with just 3 strikes. His strength is probably comparable to an expert at the 5th level of the void. With him blocking the outside, it won't be easy for us to force our way in. Yes, said Sect Master Yu Hua. Not only is Heavenly Sword Marquis powerful, but he also has many techniques. Rumor has it that he is also good at the shadowless escape technique of Bloodblade Master. Once he uses the shadowless escape technique, his speed is also incredibly fast. Even if we join forces with all the great beings present, we might not be able to do anything to him. Most importantly, the strange phenomenon in the cave abode is still continuing. This means that the true treasures in there should not have been completely born yet. If he has already appeared, then it will be easy. At most, all of us will rush forward together. Even if the Heavenly Sword Marquis is extremely powerful, he will not be able to stop all of us at once. There will always be people who will seize the opportunity to enter the cave abode and leave with the supreme treasure. However, since he has not appeared, without the supreme treasure that has completely appeared, there is no way to directly take it away, Palace Master Uda said. Let's wait and see. When this phenomenon disappears and that supreme treasure is fully born, we will swarm forward together. At that time, Heavenly Sword Marquis won't be able to stop us, Sect Master Yuhua said. I'm not worried about Heavenly Sword Marquis. I'm worried about the Azure Demon Divine Hall. Palace Master Uda's expression was solemn. The appearance of this supreme treasure has caused such a huge commotion. Not only our Uda Palace and your Yuhua sect, but the Azure Demon Divine Hall must have noticed it as well. If I'm not mistaken, the experts from the Azure Demon Divine Hall are also rushing over. I'm afraid that they will arrive here soon. Azure Demon Divine Hall, Sect Master Yuhua's face darkened. Among all the forces in the Dragon Fire domain, the Azure Demon Divine Hall was the one that Yuhua's sect feared the most. Let's wait and see. Even if the Azure Demon Divine Hall arrives, our two families might be able to compete with it even if we join hands, Sect Master Yuhua said. Okay. Palace Master Uda nodded slightly. Obviously, Palace was willing to join hands with Yuhua sect when they faced the Azure Demon Divine Hall. Ria's time passed, more and more experts gathered around, but no one was able to break into the cave mansion because of Jian Wushuang's obstruction. At this moment, in the void not far away, several figures flew over side by side. The leader was a middle-aged man in a cyan suit. Even the middle-aged man's eyes were suffused with a single cyan light, making him look very evil. When they saw the person who had arrived, the hearts of the many experts who had gathered in this area tensed up. Azure Demon Divine Hall. The people from Azure Demon Divine Hall have finally arrived. Then the person in the lead should be Azure Demon, right? It said that Azure Demon had obtained an opportunity not too long ago and had already broken through to the 5th stage of the void. The 5th stage of the void is unrivaled within the Dragonfire domain. One after another, respectful voices rang out. Even the principals masters from Uda Palace and Yuhua sect could not help but feel apprehensive when they saw the arrival of the Azure Demon Divine Hall's people, especially when they saw the leader, Azure Demon. In the blink of an eye, the group of 4 from the Azure Demon Divine Hall had already arrived at the center of the mountain. The leader of the group, Azure Demon, looked around and had already noticed the many experts gathered around him. Why aren't these people entering the cave abode? What are they doing outside? Azure Demon revealed a puzzled expression. Who knows? They probably haven't started fighting over the treasure yet because it hasn't fully emerged yet. A principal's master from the Azure Demon Divine Hall beside him said. Chimph, let's ignore them. Since our Azure Demon Divine Hall has already arrived, this supreme treasure is ours. Azure Demon coldly snorted. Come, let's go in. The 4 people from the Azure Demon Divine Hall, led by Azure Demon, rushed toward the cave abode that was emitting a strange sound. When they saw this scene, the surrounding experts did not have any intention of stopping them. Instead, they revealed strange expressions. The people from the Azure Demon Divine Hall are heading toward that cave abode. That cave abode is guarded by the Heavenly Sword Marquis. We have seen his strength. He is probably not much weaker than the 5 Void Realms. Although Azure Demon is also extremely strong, it is not certain who will win against the Heavenly Sword Marquis. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. Let's see. Even if it is Azure Demon, it won't be so easy to pass the Heavenly Sword Marquis. The surrounding experts were all looking forward to it. Even the Yu Palace and the Yu Hua sect were looking forward to the Azure Demon Divine Hall and the Heavenly Sword Marquis. After all, the Azure Demon Divine Hall could be said to be the dominant force in the Dragonfire domain. Although the Yu Palace and the Yu Hua sect were also one of the three major forces, their overall strength was much weaker than the Azure Demon Divine Hall. Neither of them had the ability to fight against the Azure Demon Divine Hall, but Heavenly Sword Marquis, who was blocking them, had the ability to challenge the Azure Demon Divine Hall. Sure enough, just as the four people of the Azure Demon Divine Hall were about to approach the cave mansion, Zhen Wushuang came up to them. "Please go back," Zhen Wushuang said coldly. "Who are you?" "You are just an immortal saint. How dare you block our way?" A principal's master of the Azure Demon Divine Hall immediately shouted. "My name is Heavenly Sword Marquis." Zhen Wushuang remained calm. In any case, his identity had been recognized by others. Fortunately, he had no intention of concealing his identity, so he announced his name. "Heavenly Sword Marquis." Hearing this name, the four principals masters of the Azure Demon Divine Hall, including Azure Demon, were shocked. It could not be helped. Heavenly Sword Marquis' name was too big in the Divine Beginning realm. He is Heavenly Sword Marquis, the most terrifying immortal saint in the history of the Divine Beginning realm? A brown-haired elder looked at Zhen Wushuang in surprise. "He is blocking our way and wants us to leave. Could it be that the people around us, including Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect, are unable to enter the cave mansion because they are blocked by him?" Another blood-haired youth frowned and said. They thought that the experts from Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect did not enter the cave mansion because the treasure had not been born yet. However, Zhen Wushuang's appearance changed their minds. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 34-36 Azure Demon Heavenly Sword Marquis, what are you doing here? Azure Demon stared at Zhen Wushuang. A man's name was like the shadow of a tree. Zhen Wushuang was so famous in the Divine Beginning realm that even though Azure Demon had reached the level of the Fifth Void realm, he did not dare to underestimate him. "It seems that the four of you are here for the supreme treasure in the cave mansion. But I have to tell you that there is no supreme treasure in the cave mansion. It is just a good friend of mine who is in seclusion there. He is also the one who caused the disturbance in the surroundings. Therefore, the four of you should go back," Zhen Wushuang said indifferently. "Your good friend is in seclusion?" Azure Demon sneered in his heart, then he said, "It seems that the reason why the people of Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect haven't been able to enter the cave mansion is because of you. Although I don't know why you are able to keep them out, I have to tell you that the Azure Demon Divine Hall is different from Yu Palace and Yu Hua. You'd better make way now. Otherwise, I don't mind teaching you a lesson on behalf of the people of the Temporal Temple." "Teach me a lesson?" Zhen Wushuang's face darkened. "Azure Demon, I'm afraid you're not qualified to teach me a lesson." "How dare you?" Azure Demon's voice turned cold, and his body suddenly moved. The moment Zhen Wushuang saw Azure Demon move, he also attacked. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Zhen Wushuang activated his life divine power. In an instant, he exerted his power to the maximum. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand turned into blood-red lightning and suddenly slashed out. It was the Peerless Sword technique, Shi Xiong. The space was instantly cut open. This huge sword shadow could tear everything apart. Many experts standing in the nearby void, especially the principals masters of Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect, could not help but be frightened when they saw this sword move. Previously, Zhen Wushuang had used this sword move to block all of them. Whether it was Sect Master Yu Hua or Palace Master Yu, who had already reached the fourth realm of the void, they could only be crushed by that sword move. But now, Zhen Wushuang was facing Azure Demon, who was already at the fifth realm of the void realm. Humph! Azure Demon snorted, and his power suddenly increased. Rumble. Endless cyan airwaves swept out like a vast cyan ocean. In this cyan ocean, Azure Demon waved his hand, and a cyan stone staff suddenly expanded and stabbed toward the blood-red sword light. Boom! The two collided, and a terrifying power instantly erupted. The void was like a piece of paper, exploding under the two powers. Huge space cracks filled the sky. At the center of the two shocking powers, the blood-red sword light could not withstand the opponent's terrifying power and collapsed. Jian Wushuang immediately retreated and finally regained his balance. This scene made the onlookers' pupils shrink, but they were not too surprised. As expected, Azure Demon is stronger. It's normal. After all, Azure Demon is an expert of the Fifth Void Realm, and Heavenly Sword Marquis. Although he is extremely powerful, his battle strength is probably at the peak of the Fourth Void Realm. An immortal saint has the battle strength of the peak of the Fourth Void Realm. This is already incredible. If he is any stronger, it would be unjustifiable. Many experts began to discuss among themselves. Heavenly Sword Marquis, no wonder you were able to stop the people of Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect by yourself. You were able to fight me head-on. You are indeed very strong. Moreover, you are just an immortal saint. Unfortunately, your strength is not as good as mine. If I want to enter the cave mansion, you can't stop me. Azure Demon's eyes were cold. He stared at Jian Wushuang. Haha, Azure Demon, it's too early for you to be happy. Jian Wushuang laughed and said, that was only the first time we fought. I was just testing your strength. Now, let's fight again. Hearing this, Azure Demon narrowed his eyes and said, you're boasting. Whoosh. Azure Demon moved and attacked again. Similarly, the green air currents that filled the sky formed an enormous green ocean, and Azure Demon was the absolute ruler of this green ocean. He held the staff in one hand, and the green stone staff in his hand magnified endlessly, then stirred the entire ocean. He suddenly smashed out. It must be known that in the first collision just now, Azure Demon had only used the long staff to stab out. But now, he had used the long stick to smash him. The power of the long stick must have been stronger. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang was not afraid at all. A faint smile even appeared on his face. Just as the long stick was about to hit him, Jian Wushuang's body shook, and he suddenly used the heaven-cleaving skill. Once the heaven-cleaving skill was used, Jian Wushuang's power instantly soared to a whole new level. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. Peerless Sword Manual, Shi Xiong. The same sword move. The same blood-red sword light smashed down like lightning, no different from the sword move that had collided with Azure Demon just now. However, the power of the same sword move was completely different at this moment. In the blink of an eye, the blood-red sword light collided with the enlarged cyan stone stick again. Boom! The commotion caused by this clash was much greater than the previous one. When the surrounding spectators saw the two terrifying auras coming into direct contact, they even felt that the world around them was trembling crazily. That shocking aura caused everyone around to tremble in fear. However, this time, the head-on clash did not end in a stalemate like the previous one. Instead, the victor was determined in just an instant. The green ocean that covered Azure Demon's body was swept away by the power of the sword light in an instant. The entire green ocean disappeared, and the green stone staff in Azure Demon's hand was also slightly changed by the power of the sword light. The terrifying power caused Azure Demon to stagger and almost fall. How is this possible? Azure Demon's eyes were wide open in disbelief. He really could not believe that Jian Wushuang was suppressed by him in the collision just now. However, the power of his stone stick was even stronger now. In the end, he was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang's sword. However, before Azure Demon could be shocked, his heart was shocked because Jian Wushuang had already attacked again after repelling him with his sword. Swish! Jian Wushuang moved like a ghost and appeared beside Azure Demon at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, he slashed out with his Blood Mountain sword. Wushuang Sword Manual, Star Dream. Among the 7 sword moves of the Wushuang Sword Manual, the sword move that focused on cutting and tearing was the most important. Jian Wushuang also used the heaven-cleaving skill while using his full strength. The heaven-cleaving skill made the sword move extremely terrifying. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 34-37 Plan Not Good. Seeing the Star Dream First style attacking him, even Azure Demon's face changed. At such a close distance, Azure Demon could clearly sense how terrifying this sword was. If he could block it, it would be fine. But if he could not, the terrifying cutting power of this sword style could cut through his divine body. It could probably cut through his protective armor and cut through his divine body. Get lost! Azure Demon suddenly shouted. The cyan stone stick in his hand blocked in front of him at the fastest speed, and the terrifying sword light also cut into his stone stick. However, Azure Demon's power was not as strong as Jian Wushuang's. Moreover, this was a hasty defense. The terrifying power contained in the sword light immediately knocked the cyan stone stick aside, and it still had a lot of power left to cut into Azure Demon's divine body. The sword light cut through Azure Demon's protective armor, and sparks flew in all directions. Azure Demon felt a burning pain, but when he looked over, he took a deep breath. A deep white mark appeared on his protective armor, and a sword mark appeared on his divine body. Obviously, although Jian Wushuang's sword attack did not directly tear his protective armor, it had reached the limit of his protective armor. Moreover, the tearing power contained in the sword, it still penetrated his protective armor and injured his divine body. Whoosh! Azure Demon suddenly retreated and immediately pulled away from Jian Wushuang. After he regained his balance, Azure Demon could not help but feel a chill in his heart. The tearing power contained in Jian Wushuang's sword was too terrifying. As an expert of the Fifth Void Realm and protected by the Supreme Treasure Armor, he almost could not withstand it. Fortunately, I used the stone stick to block most of the power of this sword. Otherwise, this sword might still be able to break my divine body through my Supreme Treasure level armor, Azure Demon thought to himself. At the same time, he looked at the longsword in Jian Wushuang's hand. That sword is so sharp. This was Azure Demon's understanding of the Blood Mountain sword. He knew very well that although Jian Wushuang's sword was powerful and the tearing force was strong, without the help of a divine sword that was good at cutting, it could not penetrate his Supreme Treasure armor and damage his divine body. In fact, Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword was his original divine weapon. It had been growing under his nourishment and increasing its power. Jian Wushuang even used his own blood essence to nurture the Blood Mountain sword. When Jian Wushuang came out of the Bloodwave realm and had the battle strength of a principal's master, the Blood Mountain sword had already transformed into a supreme treasure. Over the years, as Jian Wushuang's strength continued to increase, the level of the Blood Mountain sword had also increased. It should have reached the level of an advanced supreme treasure by now. It was an advanced supreme treasure, and the most terrifying thing about the Blood Mountain sword was its sharpness. Such a sword treasure, coupled with the Star Dream first move, instantly exploded with a tearing force. Of course, it was terrifyingly powerful. Azure Demon, how about it? Do you want to fight again? Jian Wushuang stood in front of Azure Demon and looked at him with a sneer. Azure Demon's face had become extremely unsightly. He had already seen that Jian Wushuang was indeed stronger than him in the fight just now. Especially that extremely sharp sword strike, it made him feel a lingering fear. If he was alone, he really did not want to fight with Jian Wushuang anymore. Heavenly Sword Marquis, even if you are very strong, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for you to occupy the supreme treasure in your cave mansion by yourself, Azure Demon said. I've already told you that there are no treasures in the cave mansion. You just don't want to believe it, Jian Wushuang said with a bitter smile. How about this? You can wait here quietly like the others. It won't take long. In 1 or 2 months at most, my good friend will come out of the cave mansion. Then you'll know whether this is true or not. Of course, before that, I can promise that I won't step into the cave mansion. How about it? Humph. Azure Demon snorted and did not answer. However, he turned around and walked toward the experts of Yu Palace and Yu Hua sect. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. I'm afraid Azure Demon doesn't believe me. Indeed, Azure Demon did not believe Jian Wushuang's words. He was afraid of Jian Wushuang's strength, so he gave in temporarily. However, he and the others from the Azure Demon Divine Hall had already arrived in front of the principal's masters of U Palace and Yuhua sect. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. UDA, Sect Master Yuhua, what do you think? Azure Demon asked in a low voice. What else can we do? Even you can't pass the trial of Heavenly Sword Marquis. What can we do? Sect Master Yuhua said directly. In fact, they were the most shocked when they saw Jian Wushuang forcing Azure Demon back and damaging his divine body. They could not imagine that Jian Wushuang, a mere immortal saint, could be so powerful. Heavenly Sword Marquis is indeed very strong. I think his battle strength is close to the peak of the Void Fifth Realm, and am no match for him in a one-on-one fight. However, he is only one person, and we can't do anything to him in a one-on-one fight. However, if we attack him together, Heavenly Sword Marquis can't stop all of us alone. At that time, we can ignore him and fight for the supreme treasure in the cave mansion, Azure Demon said. That's true, but the problem is that the true treasure in the cave mansion hasn't been fully born yet. It's not wise to fight for it now. However, if we wait until the true treasure is fully born before we fight for it, Heavenly Sword Marquis will be the closest to the cave mansion, and his specialty is speed. When the true treasure is fully born, he will enter the cave mansion immediately and get the true treasure. At that time, we can only watch helplessly. After all, even 3 great Saint Realm Masters can't kill Heavenly Sword Marquis. If we want to kill him and then snatch the true treasure from his hands, it's just a pipe dream, Palace Master Uda said. In that case, we can only wait for that ultimate treasure to be born before we make our move. We will wait for the unusual sound that is emitted from within the cave mansion to begin to weaken before we charge forward together. Azure Demon said. When an ordinary ultimate treasure was born, the unusual phenomenon that was emitted would begin to weaken. At this moment, it was most suitable for them to make their move. In that case, let's do it this way. However, that Heavenly Sword Marquis is so powerful that it is a problem for all of us. Among all of us present, only you, Azure Demon, are able to fight him. Therefore, I am afraid that you will have to deal with him when the time comes. Sect Master Yuhua suddenly said. Humph, the fight for the supreme treasure relies on luck. At that time, we will just have to fight evenly. Azure Demon coldly snorted. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 34-38 swarmed forward. Time continued to pass, and the surrounding experts were waiting patiently. They were all waiting for an opportunity. Jian Wushuang naturally knew this, but he could do nothing about it. After another half a day, the huge heaven and earth phenomenon that erupted from the cave mansion finally began to weaken. This weakening was immediately sensed by the many great beings who were patiently waiting in the void space. The heaven and earth phenomenon is beginning to weaken. That true treasure is finally about to be born. After waiting for so long, it's finally here. The gazes of the great beings in the surroundings became fiery. And then, attack! Attack together! Quick! Seize the supreme treasure! The experts who were waiting here all attacked at the same time. There were dozens of experts, including more than 10 principals masters and many powerful immortal saints. They all attacked at the same time and rushed toward the cave mansion. Jian Wushuang's expression changed at this scene. Damn it, everyone is rushing toward me like crazy. Although I'm strong, I can't stop everyone at once. Jian Wushuang frowned. In the next moment, he made up his mind. I have no choice but to stop as many people as possible. In the void, Jian Wushuang made his move. One finger painting the sky, space-time prison, buzz. With a simple stroke of his finger, the power of space-time principles gathered in his body suddenly surged up and swept out in all directions like a sea wave. In just a moment, it covered the entire mountain range. The space-time restriction had already taken shape. Then, draw the Earth as a prison, space-time restriction, buzz, buzz. The vast power of the spacetime principles that covered the surrounding heaven and earth instantly swept toward the many experts rushing forward. Spacetime restriction, this move, with Zhen Wushuang's current strength, could even have a great binding effect on experts at the peak of the fifth void realm. The strongest among them, Qing Mo, was only at the threshold of the fifth realm of the void. The others were even weaker. Under the spacetime binding, their speed was greatly reduced, their bodies were also greatly restricted. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Zhen Wushuang's speed completely burst out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Zhen Wushuang's figure was like a ghost, appearing in front of the experts one after another. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand also swept out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The cold sword light attacked, forcing the experts to stop in order to block Zhen Wushuang's swordsmanship. In that instant, Zhen Wushuang actually blocked more than half of the people who rushed over. Among them, the strength of Qing Mo and Palace Master Yu were also blocked by Zhen Wushuang. However, there were also some people who went around them. There were only about a dozen of them, but Zhen Wushuang could not stop them. There was nothing he could do. No matter how powerful he was only one person. He could not split his body, so it was already his limit to be able to stop so many people in an instant. Those who were lucky enough to not be stopped by Zhen Wushuang rushed toward the cave mansion at the fastest speed. The most conspicuous one was Sect Master Yu Hua. Sect Master Yu Hua was indeed lucky. To be exact, he was smart enough. While everyone was rushing toward the cave mansion, Sect Master Yu Hua was indeed at the back. Moreover, he was rushing toward the cave mansion from the edge, deliberately keeping a distance from Qing Mo and Palace Master Dau. Zhen Wushuang stopped Qing Mo and Palace Master Dau at once, but he could not divert his attention to stop Sect Master Yu Hua. After Qing Mo and Palace Master Yu Hua was the strongest. Although there were more than a dozen people who could still make their way to the cave mansion, none of them were qualified to compete with Yu Hua for the supreme treasure in the cave mansion. Haha, this supreme treasure belongs to the Yu Hua sect. No one can compete with me anymore. The eyes of the sect master were filled with fanaticism. His face was also filled with ecstasy as he rushed toward the cave abode at his fastest speed. As for the people around him, they had already been left behind by him. Now, no one could stop him. He was getting closer and closer to the cave abode. Finally, he arrived at the entrance of the cave abode. At this moment, the heaven and earth phenomenon transmitted from the cave abode had completely disappeared. If the phenomenon had completely disappeared, then under normal circumstances, it meant that the true treasure had completely emerged. The timing is just right. Sect Master Yu Hua was ecstatic, and he prepared to rush into the cave abode. But at that moment, Sect Master Yu Hua suddenly noticed that in the cave abode, in front of him, a figure had appeared out of nowhere. This is, before Sect Master Yu Hua could react, the figure in front of him had already attacked. In the void outside the cave mansion, Zhen Wushuang was still trying to block the other experts, while those experts who were looking for an opportunity to bypass Zhen Wushuang were still rushing toward the cave mansion at their fastest speed. But at this moment, boom! Heaven and earth shook violently, and a shocking power suddenly erupted. The moment this power was created, everyone in the void could not help but stop what they were doing. Everyone looked at the cave mansion in astonishment. They immediately saw a huge grey hand grabbing the divine body of Sect Master Yu Hua like it was grabbing a chicken. The leader of the Yu Hua sect was a peak third-level Void Realm Principles Master. In terms of strength, he could be ranked in the top 3 in the entire Dragonfire domain. However, such an expert was grabbed by the huge grey hand. No matter how hard he tried, he could not break free. Then, the huge grey hand flipped and placed the leader of the Yu Hua sect in its palm. Then, it clenched. No. The leader of the Yu Hua sect let out a hysterical roar. However, his body was already completely submerged by the huge grey hand. Furthermore, the terrifying power contained within the huge grey hand had almost instantly shattered the leader of Yu Hua sect's divine body. Furthermore, the divine power within his entire body was annihilated inch by inch until there was not a single bit left. In just a short moment, the leader of the Yu Hua sect had already died. This is, Sect Master Yu Hua is dead. A peak third stage Void Realm expert just casually clenched his hand and died so easily. The many experts in the Void, including the Azure Demon Divine Hall and the Great Yu Palace's Principal's Masters, were all looking at this scene in horror. Their bodies were all trembling as if they could not accept the scene before them. Chapter 34-39 New Life Sect Master Yu Hua, a rule master at the peak of the Void Realm, was killed like a chicken. This scene really shocked everyone present. Even the powerful Qing Mo and Palace Master Yu were shocked. Only Jian Wushuang, he casually smiled and said, "I told you that there was no treasure in the cave mansion. It was just a good friend of mine who was in seclusion. You refused to listen. Now, my good friend is angry." Jian Wushuang's words stunned everyone. Then, they continued to look at the cave mansion. As expected, an old figure slowly appeared at the entrance of the cave mansion. When the old figure appeared, boom, a terrifying aura that could suffocate all the experts present suddenly spread out. The aura was vast and mighty, crushing everyone present. At this moment, everyone's facial expression changed greatly. This aura, the 6th level of the Void. It's a super expert of the 6th level of the Void. Moreover, such a dense aura has probably already reached the peak of the 6th level of the Void. Heavens, there's actually an old monster that has reached the peak of the 6th level of the Void hidden in this cave dwelling. The experts present were all shocked. After the Demon Master of the Demon Master Chanhua, who was at the entrance of the cave dwelling, released his aura to suppress everyone present, he coldly said, "This old man is in closed-door cultivation. If you don't want to die, scram." His voice contained a shocking killing intent, causing everyone who heard it to tremble in fear. "Go, quickly leave. Quickly leave. Run." Without any hesitation, the many experts present immediately scattered and fled in all directions. Even the principal's masters of the Azure Demon Divine Hall and Great Yu Palace, including Azure Demon, did not hesitate to flee. The 6th level of the Void, and it's an old monster at the peak of the 6th level of the Void. Such a super expert is not someone we can afford to provoke, Azure Demon muttered in his heart. He knew very well that not to mention that there was no so-called top-tier supreme treasure in the cave abode, even if there was one, he would not be qualified to fight for it if there was a powerhouse at the peak of the 6th level of the Void there. The 6th level of the Void was much stronger than the 5th level of the Void. Didn't they see that Sect Master Yu Hua was killed like a chicken? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Although there were many of them present, and most of them were quite strong, if they really made that powerhouse at the peak of the 6th level of the Void unhappy and started to kill, it would definitely be a massacre, no one could stop them. In just a moment, all the experts who had been crazy about the supreme treasure in the cave mansion had fled, leaving no one behind. Even though their sect master, Yu Hua, had been killed, the remaining 2 principals masters did not have any intention of taking revenge. They also fled far away. The Void finally calmed down again. As expected, Chen Huo's attack is much more direct than mine. Jian Wushuang smiled. Although his battle strength was comparable to the 5th realm of the Void, in terms of deterrence, he was far inferior to Chanhua, who was at the peak of the 6th realm of the Void. Jian Wushuang put away the Blood Mountain sword and went directly to the sky above the cave mansion. "Chanhua, what happened here didn't affect the little guy's ability to change his fate, right?" Jian Wushuang asked. Fortunately, it was the most important period and no one broke in. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would have been wasted, Demon Master Chanhua said. The period when the cave mansion emitted a huge heaven and earth phenomenon was indeed the most important period for Demon Master Chanhua to reconstruct the veins of the little guy. During this period, no one should disturb him. Fortunately, during this period, the experts who rushed over were all blocked by Jian Wushuang alone. Until the process was over and the heaven and earth phenomenon disappeared, the experts would then rush in again. It was convenient for Demon Master Chanhua to make a move. "How is it now?" Jian Wushuang asked again. "The little guy's meridians have been reconstructed. Now, He just needs some natural treasures to nourish and stabilize them. It will take some time, but there is still no risk, and he won't make such a big noise like before, said Demon Master Chanhua. That's good. I'll continue to stand guard outside. You can take your time, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Okay. Demon Master Chanhua nodded and returned to the cave mansion. Jian Wushuang continued to stand guard outside the cave mansion for the rest of the time. Because of Demon Master Chenhuo's intimidation, the experts who had been scared away did not dare to come again. Everything went according to plan. After 2 months, Demon Master Chanhua walked out of the cave mansion with Zhao Mang looking at the two people who walked out, especially the smile on Zhao Mang's face. Jian Wushuang knew that he had completed his heaven-defying change of fate. His meridians had been reconstructed, so he could cultivate like a normal person in the future. Moreover, his innate advantage and cultivation talent would be much better than ordinary cultivators. After all, Demon Master Chanhua was a living example. Chanhua, congratulations on taking in a good disciple. Zhao Mang also congratulates you. You can finally become a cultivator, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. I will never forget the kindness of all the powerful masters who gave me a new life. Zhao Mang directly knelt down and respectfully kowtowed 3 times to Demon Master Chanhua. Get up. Demon Master Chanhua waved his hand, and Zhao Mang could not help standing up. Heavenly Sword Marquis, thank you for guarding outside during this period of time. Demon Master Chanhua also thanked Jian Wushuang. It's just a small matter. There's no need to be so polite. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. Well, the heaven-defying fate-changing for this little guy has been completed. Now, it's time for us to set off for the demon region, Jian Wushuang said. Well, if possible, we don't have to go there as quickly as possible. We can walk there slowly. I'm thinking of teaching this little guy on the way and giving him some experience, Demon Master Chanhua said. Sure, I'm not in a hurry. Jian Wushuang smiled. He had 2 things to do in the demon region. The first was to meet his family in this life and find out the true identity of Miss Xiaowa. The other reason was to find a way to kill the current Grandmaster of the Blood Clan. However, there was no need to be too anxious about these 2 things. Besides, Jian Wushuang had just exchanged many treasures from the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to comprehend the destruction rules. He also wanted to study the destruction rules on the way, therefore, he did not mind traveling slowly. After making a decision, the 3 of them set off immediately. Chapter 3440 Location. The third heaven was extremely vast. The journey from the Dragon Fire domain to the demon field was extremely long. Without using teleportation and some space passages, it would naturally take time for the 3 of them to reach the demon field. On the way, Jian Wushuang tried his best to comprehend the destruction principles. As for Demon Master Chanhua, he focused all his energy on teaching Zhao Mang. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Zhao Mang was sitting cross-legged on an empty land. His body was filled with vast divine power. Suddenly, the void shook slightly, and Zhao Mang withdrew all his divine power. A brand new divine power aura spread out from his body. It's done. Zhao Mang cried out in surprise. Jian Wushuang, who was in the void beside him, also saw this scene and could not help exclaiming in admiration, this little guy's cultivation speed is really fast after defying the heavens and changing his fate. In just 10 years, he has already advanced from an ordinary person who doesn't even have a trace of divine power to the immortal saint realm. There were many levels between ordinary cultivators and immortal saints. To become an immortal saint in just 10 years, this speed was indeed terrifying. Of course, the reason for this was not only because of Zhao Mang's talent, but also because he had used a large number of natural treasures when defying the heavens and changing his fate. These natural treasures were all absorbed by Zhao Mang, causing his body to have an incomparably large amount of energy. In addition to the careful teaching of Demon Master Chanhua, the speed of his progress was amazing because of the cultivation of various resources. Although this little guy's progress is admirable, I've made a lot of progress in the past 10 years. Jian Wushuang smiled. In the past 10 years, he had spent all his energy on comprehending the destruction principles. His affinity for the destruction principles was no less than the spacetime principles. With the help of many treasures, his progress was also remarkable. In a short period of time, he had completely comprehended the first 2 volumes of the 9 volumes of Vast Heaven. The first 6 volumes of the 9 volumes of Vast Heaven contained everything from the rudiments to the complete mastery of the destruction principles. The remaining 3 volumes contained the application of the destruction principles. Comprehending the second volume was not only the rudiments, but also some attainments. The further I go, the more difficult it becomes to comprehend the 9 volumes of Vast Heaven. Although I only used 10 years to comprehend the first 2 volumes, I don't know how long it will take for me to comprehend the first 6 volumes, Jian Wushuang muttered. At this moment, Demon Master Chanhua and Zhao Mang walked over. Young man, congratulations on finally becoming an immortal saint. With your speed of improvement, I'm afraid it won't be long before you catch up with me, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. It's all thanks to Master's guidance that I've made such great progress. Besides, although I've made great progress, I'm still far from being comparable to you, Heavenly Sword Marquis. If I can reach your level in this life, I'll be content, Zhao Mang said. His words were also filled with reverence. He had traveled with Jian Wushuang and Demon Master Chanhua for 10 years, so he had a certain understanding of his master, and Jian Wushuang he knew that his master was a super expert and stood at the top of the entire divine beginning realm. As for Jian Wushuang, he already knew Jian Wushuang's origin. He was the #1 genius in the history of the divine beginning realm, but he was an immortal saint who could suppress many principles masters. Even his master, Demon Master Chanhua, was just a guard by Jian Wushuang's side. Such a figure. Zhao Mang could only respect him. It's good that you know yourself. You've just broken through to become an immortal saint, but you're only a rank 1 true saint. In the divine beginning realm, you're still an ant-like existence. You still have a long way to go, Demon Master Chanhua said. I'll follow your instructions, Master, Zhao Mang said. Well, don't hurt this little guy anymore, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. According to the star map, the monster territory is not far ahead. There are all kinds of special races in the monster territory. They fight each other and are far more powerful and fierce than human cultivators. It's said that there are territorial disputes everywhere in the monster territory. Many races fight and kill each other all year round, and there are many experts in the monster territory. Therefore, we should try not to cause any trouble when we get there, Jian Wushuang said. The demon region is so big. Where can you find your family? Demon Master Chanhua looked at him. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. After traveling together, Demon Master Chanhua also knew the purpose of Jian Wushuang's visit to the demon region. 101. Although I don't have a specific address, I can roughly guess their location, Jian Wushuang said. Oh. Demon Master Chanhua looked puzzled. Jian Wushuang took out a star map at a leisurely pace. Look, this star map shows the locations of the territories of the many races in the demon region. They are very scattered. In addition to these races, there are 8 large cities in the demon region. These 8 cities are very special. Almost 99% of the places in the demon region are filled with fighting and killing. However, fighting is forbidden in these 8 cities because these 8 cities are places where the races trade with each other. There are not only experts from different races, but also human cultivators and some chambers of commerce for human cultivators. To put it simply, these 8 cities are the transit points for the trade between different races. Any race must put down their hatred for each other when they enter. In addition, there are a large number of city guards in each of these 8 cities to maintain order in the cities. No matter who it is, they are forbidden to attack in the cities. Because of this, compared to other places in the demon region, these 8 cities are definitely the safest. My family members were very weak when they were brought to the demon region. They were not suitable to live in other places in the demon region. The only place where they could survive was in the 8 cities. After all, as long as they were in the cities, even an ordinary person would be safe. Miss Xiaoa has an unclear relationship with the Nine-Tailed clan. She is probably not too far away from the Nine-Tailed clan. Naturally, she will place my family members in the cities closer to the Nine-Tailed clan. Among the 8 cities, Piahuo City is the closest to the nine-tailed clan. The other 7 cities are far away. Therefore, it is not surprising that my family members are in Piahuo City. Jian Wushuang had studied the star map of the demon territory. Without being noticed by Miss Xiaowa, he could roughly guess the locations of his relatives in this life. In his opinion, his relatives in this life, most likely, Miss Xiaowa would be placed in the Piahuo City. Chapter 3441 Piahuo City. After determining the location of his relatives in this life, Jian Wushuang went straight to Piahuo City. As one of the 8 pure lands in the demon region, the entire city was huge. There were many experts and human cultivators in the city, and the city was heavily guarded. A large number of city guards were stationed in every corner of the city. In Piahuo City, the city guards would immediately take action if there was a fierce battle. Apart from stopping the battle, the 2 people who participated in the fierce battle would also face punishment in their eyes. Moreover, this was because the fierce battle did not cause too much commotion. If the fierce battle was very fierce or if someone killed someone in the city, they would be directly executed. Because of this, the Piahuo City was relatively safe. After entering the monster territory, Jian Wushuang rushed to the Piahuo City as fast as he could. The Piahuo City is indeed vast. Even with my soul perception, I can't cover the entire city, Jian Wushuang thought. He had tried his best to spread out his soul power, but he could only sense a part of the city. But it was this part that allowed Jian Wushuang to sense a familiar figure. It's really here. Jian Wushuang smiled and directly rushed toward the figure he sensed. In the void near the street in Piahuo City, a large number of figures gathered here. Kai Hu, this is the floating fire city. How dare you hurt me here? A delicate young man in a white robe shouted in a low voice as he was surrounded by people. Standing in front of this young man was a burly man who was over 3 meters tall. His skin was completely black and he was wearing battle armor. This burly man was clearly from a special race. His body also emitted an incomparably valiant aura. The burly man parted his mouth and smiled when he heard the words of the delicate-looking young man. Qiu Yun, you really are like this even though you say that you have not seen the world. It is true that fighting is prohibited in Drifting Fire City. However, as long as you do not cause too much of a commotion in a normal fight, you will only be punished a little at most. With my status, you can also be exempted from any punishment. In other words, as long as I do not kill you, I will be fine no matter what I do to you. Men, break both of his legs. Yes. 2 rank 7 true saints immediately attacked from behind the burly man. The white-robed young man had just reached the level of an immortal saint, so he naturally did not have any ability to resist the 2 rank 7 true saints. In just an instant, the white-robed young man's legs were broken. Bastard! The white-robed young man clenched his hands tightly. His body was being pressed to the ground by the 2 rank 7 true saints. He could not even raise his head. He could only roar and curse. But the more he struggled, the happier the burly man became. Haha, I told you not to give me face before. You think that I can't do anything to you in Piahuo City? What a joke. Come on, chop off his arms as well. The burly man ordered. To an immortal saint, breaking his arms and legs was nothing. He could recover very easily. However, in his heart, this was a blatant humiliation to the white-robed young man. In front of everyone, he was wantonly trampling on his dignity. When the 2 rank 7 true saints heard the burly man's order, they immediately planned to chop off the white-robed young man's arms. But right at this moment, if you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Stop. A low shout suddenly rang out, and then a large number of figures charged over from the void beside them. When they saw the people who had arrived, a commotion immediately appeared in the surrounding void. Quick, get out of the way. The City Protection Army is here. Fighting is forbidden in Fluttering Fire City. Now that the City Protection Army is here, there will be a good show to watch. Not necessarily. That Scarlet Tiger is the young Grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan. His status is obvious. Moreover, he did not cause any deaths. Even the City Protection Army would not dare to do anything to him. Many people were whispering in secret. In the blink of an eye, the City Protection Army had arrived in front of the crowd. "Release him," one of the captain-level saints immediately reprimanded. However, the two rank 7 true saints who had pinned the white-robed youth to the ground did not react at all. They looked toward Kai-Hu. Kai-Hu smiled sinisterly and waved his hand, indicating for the two of them to let go. "You-know." An azure-robed woman rushed out from the crowd and hurriedly picked up the white-robed youth. "Mother." The white-robed youth forced out a smile when he saw the woman. "Bastard." The green-clothed woman clenched her teeth in anger when she saw the miserable appearance of her son. The commander of the City Protection Army by the side also frowned. He said, "Kai-Hu, although you are the young chief of the Scarlet Gold clan, this is after all Floating Fire City. Aren't you treating the City Protection Army and the many tribes in the Demon region too disrespectfully by acting in such a manner? Haha, I merely taught an ignorant person a lesson. Moreover, I did not cause any deaths. Why, do you City Protection Army plan to settle scores with my Scarlet Gold clan over this matter?" The burly man, Kai-Hu, laughed fearlessly. The expression of this City Protection Army captain changed. The City Protection Army of Piahuo City and the City Protection Army of the other 7 cities were actually supported by the top tribes in the Demon region. Their existence was indeed to maintain order within these 8 cities. Usually, the principals in these cities were extremely strict. However, if the matter involved some top races, for example, although the current Scarlet Gold race was not one of the 4 great celestial races, their strength was only second to the 4 great celestial races. Such a powerful race, and the other party was the young Grandmaster. Therefore, the City Protection Army had to have some scruples. Under normal circumstances, as long as a person like Scarlet Tiger did not go overboard in the city and killed people on the streets, the City Protection Army would turn a blind eye. This was how it was today. "Scarlet Tiger, you have already taught him a lesson. Today's matter ends here. If you attack this person again in Piahuo City, our City Protection Army can no longer pretend that we did not see it," said the City Protection Army's captain. "Haha, that's fine. For such a small character, teaching him a lesson once is enough. I have no interest in teaching him a lesson a second time." Kai-Hu smiled coldly, then turned around. "Let's go." After saying that, Kai-Hu and his subordinates planned to leave. The City Protection Army did not dare to stop them. But at this moment, Su, 3 figures suddenly blocked Kai-Hu and the others. Wanting to leave after teaching them a lesson, leaving nothing behind. "Aren't you being a little too relaxed?" A cold voice suddenly reverberated in the air. Chapter 3442. Beheading. His voice reverberated in the air, drawing the attention of the people around him. Everyone turned to look at the 3 figures who had suddenly appeared. "Who are these 3? I've never seen them before, but from the looks of it, they should be human cultivators. Of the 2 immortal saints, one seems to have just reached the true saint realm. As for the last person, I can't tell how deep he is. He seems to be a powerhouse." Some people were whispering among themselves. Kai-Hu and the others were naturally stopped by the 3 figures. "Who dares to block my way?" Kai-Hu's eyes were cold as he glanced at the 3 people in front of him. His tone carried a hint of condescension. "I heard that the rules of the cities in the Demon region are extremely strict. No one dares to be presumptuous here. But now it seems that they are just SOSO. Jian Wushuang sneered. He had thought that no one would dare to fight in these cities after reading the introduction on the star map, but that was clearly not the case. However, it was understandable. In this world, any rules were set by experts. As long as you were strong, you could break the rules no matter where you were. "Humph, I don't care who you are. Listen to me. I'm the young Grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan. If you don't want to die, get away from me. Otherwise," Kai-Hu's eyes were emitting a cold light. The attendants behind him also showed a cold look. As one of the top clans in the monster region, the Scarlet Gold clan could do whatever they wanted in the Demon region. Even the 4 great divine clans would at least give the Scarlet Gold clan some face, That was why Kai-Hu was so arrogant and domineering. But today, Kai-Hu and the others had kicked an iron board. The Scarlet Gold Clan? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. I don't remember a single Scarlet Gold Clan among the 4 great divine clans. The Scarlet Gold Clan is not among the 4 great divine clans, but it's still considered a top clan. In terms of strength, it's only slightly weaker than the 4 great divine clans, Demon Master Chunhua said. After all, he was an expert who had been left behind 200 million years ago. He still knew about the Scarlet Gold Clan. I see. No wonder I have never heard of it, Jian Wushuang said with a sneer. Jian Wushuang's wanton sneer, as if he did not care about the Scarlet Gold Clan at all, completely infuriated Kai-Hu. You guys, catch this kid for me. I want him to kneel in front of me and kowtow to me to apologize, Kai-Hu ordered. Yes. The attendants behind Kai-Hu immediately prepared to attack. Once they moved, the guards could not sit idly by. Stop. The captain of the guards shouted in a low voice and rushed over with the guards. But at this moment, no need to go through so much trouble. Jian Wushuang raised his head slightly. At the moment he raised his hand, an invisible sword shadow condensed in front of him and then shot out. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. It was too fast. The speed of the sword shadow was beyond everyone's imagination. Almost in an instant, the sword shadow had already passed by Kai-Hu's followers. Kai. Heads were thrown out one by one. Not only did the sword shadow destroy their divine bodies, it also destroyed their divine power. In the blink of an eye, Kai-Hu's followers were all dead. What? Everyone was stunned. Dead. All of them are dead. In an instant, all the true saints above rank 7 were killed. How dare he kill people in the Piahuo city? Exclamations were heard one after another, and countless shocked eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. The captain of the city protection army was also stunned. They had wanted to rush over to protect Jian Wushuang and the others, but they did not expect that Kai-Hu's followers had died in an instant. After killing those followers, Jian Wushuang raised his hand again and another sword shadow condensed in his hand. This sword shadow was obviously heading toward Kai-Hu. Oh no! The captain of the city protection army was shocked. Kai-Hu was also shocked. When he saw the sword shadow rushing toward him, he immediately roared, I am the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold Clan. If you dare to kill me, my Scarlet Gold Clan will not let you go. Before he could finish his words, the sword shadow had already passed through his divine body. Just like his subordinates, Kai-Hu's divine body collapsed immediately. His divine power was also destroyed. He died instantly. Silence. At this moment, the entire Piahuo city quieted down completely. Everybody around was stunned. They could not believe what they were seeing. The young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold Clan was actually killed on the spot in Piahuo city. Something big has happened. The captain of the city protection army's expression changed drastically. He knew very well that the death of the Scarlet Tiger in Piahuo city would cause a huge commotion. This matter had already completely gone out of his control. It was not something that a mere captain like him could solve. Hence, he immediately took out his communication talisman and sent a message to the few higher-ups of the city protection army within Piahuo city. When the few higher-ups of the city protection army received the message, they were all shocked and immediately rushed over as fast as they could. In just a short while, 4 figures with monstrous auras appeared in the air. Greetings, General. The captain of the city protection army immediately bowed respectfully to the person who had just arrived. The auras emitted by the 4 people who had just arrived were all the principal's masters. The one in the lead was a burly man wearing purple armor with a single horn on his forehead. This burly man glanced at the ground below. Although the godly bodies of the Scarlet Tiger and his followers had collapsed and their divine power had been completely annihilated, their corpses were still left behind. It really is Kai-Hu. The burly man in purple armor looked at Kai-Hu's divine body and his face turned livid. He then asked in a low voice, "Who did it?" "General, it's him." The captain immediately pointed at Jian Wushuang. "How dare you kill people wantonly in Piahuo city? And you killed the young patriarch of the Scarlet Gold Clan." The burly man in purple armor said with a gloomy face. The city guards of Piahuo City and the other 7 cities of the Demon Region supported the top tribes of the Demon Region, and the Scarlet Gold clan occupied a very big position among them. Usually, if a member of the Scarlet Gold clan died in these 8 cities, it would cause a great commotion. And now, the young Grandmaster had died. This matter was too big. It was so big that the consequences might even implicate him. Hence, toward the person who had killed the Scarlet Tiger, this burly man in purple armor gritted his teeth. Chapter 34-43 Third Brother. According to the rules, anyone who dares to kill someone in Piahuo City can be executed on the spot, the purple-armored man said coldly. Commander, this person killed a Scarlet Tiger after all, and this matter is of great importance. Why don't we suppress him first, then hand him over to the Scarlet Gold race, and let them decide what to do with him? A principal's master beside him said. Yes, it's best to hand him over to the Scarlet Gold clan. The burly man in purple armor nodded. However, Jian Wushuang smiled when he heard the burly man's words. You talk as if you can do whatever you want to me. Aren't you going to ask me if I agree or not? Boy, you're a saint. Do you think you can resist me? The burly man in purple armor said in a low voice. I'm sorry, but I don't intend to let you deal with me. Besides, you are not qualified to do so. Jian Wushuang sneered. Then he glanced at Demon Master Chanhua and said, Chanhua, I'll leave it to you. Demon Master Chanhua nodded slightly and took a step forward. It seemed like a step, but the moment he took that step, boom, an earth-shattering might erupted like a landslide and a tsunami, directly suppressing the entire area. For a moment, the entire void started to tremble madly. It was as if the space could not withstand this pressure and was about to explode. Even the heaven and earth void was like this, and the people in this area were all extremely terrified. This is, the violet-armored burly man's eyes were wide open. Although he was a peak 4th level Void Realm Principal's master, he was still trembling under this pressure. The Principal's masters beside him were even more terrified than him. Void 6th level. He is a peak Void 6th level expert, and judging from his power, he is probably an extremely powerful existence among the Void 6th level. It is very likely that he is on par with the 4 great clan leaders of the divine race. The body and mind of the burly man in purple armor began to tremble madly. Seeing that the deterrent effect was almost over, Demon Master Chanhua withdrew his power, and the people around him heaved a sigh of relief. So, do you still want to suppress me and hand me over to the Scarlet Gold clan? Jian Wushuang looked at the purple-armored burly man with a faint smile. The purple-armored burly man's face twitched slightly. He said seriously, you have experts at the peak of the 6th Void Realm with you. The guards of the Piahuo City can't fight against you, so we can't suppress you. However, the rules of the Piahuo City and the other 7 cities in the Demon Region are made by the clans of the Demon Region. Since you have violated the rules of the Piahuo City, I will still inform the clans who made the rules and let them decide. The burly man in purple armor said it beautifully, but in fact, he knew it very well. Although many people thought that the rules of the Piahuo City were very strict, the rules were made by experts. As long as one reached a certain level of strength, he could ignore any rules and restrictions. And the Demon Master, who was beside Jian Wushuang, was such an expert. An expert at the peak of the 6th realm of the Void Realm could kill a city in the Demon Region, including the 4 divine races, even if he killed a city in the Demon Region, let alone in the Piahuo City. At most, he could only talk about it. It would be impossible for him to kill such an expert. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. His strength had reached the level of the Demon Master Chanhua, and even a Saint Realm Master might not have the confidence to kill him personally. On the other hand, the 4 great clans and the entire Demon Region did not have any Saint Realm Masters or ruler-level experts. Therefore, even if he reported this matter to the higher-ups, the top clans, including the 4 great clans, would probably turn a blind eye. Even the Scarlet Gold clan would not dare to have any thoughts of revenge after knowing that the person who killed Kai who was accompanied by an expert at the peak of the 6th Void Realm. I don't care how you report this matter to those clans, but I have some private matters to deal with in the Piahuo city. You'd better go far away and stay away from me, Zhen Wushuang said indifferently. As long as you don't continue to kill people in the Piahuo city, the city protection army will not follow you, the burly man in purple armor said. Don't worry. As long as no one dares to provoke me, I won't do anything, Zhen Wushuang said. That's good. The burly man in purple armor let out a sigh of relief and then ordered the sergeants of the city protection army. You, clean up the corpses below. The rest of you, disperse. Upon hearing this, everyone began to disperse. However, when they left, everyone was still discussing animatedly. What they were discussing was naturally the scene just now. What a fellow. He killed someone in Piahuo City. He even killed the young clan leader of the Scarlet Gold clan. However, this person is actually completely fine. Nonsense, didn't you hear? This person has a peak 6th level Void Realm existence by his side. Even the 4 great divine races do not dare to provoke such a super expert. How would the city protection army dare to attack? This is a true expert. He is clearly violating the rules of the demon region, but no one dares to do anything to him. Compared to that peak level 6 Void Realm expert, I am more curious about the identity of the person who killed Kai Hu. He is clearly an immortal saint, but that peak level 6 Void Realm expert by his side seems to be just a guard. A guard at the peak of the 6 Void Realms? Who is he? Everyone left in shock. After the people around them began to disperse, Zhen Wushuang and the other 2 rushed toward the green-robed woman and the white-robed young man whose legs had been broken by Kai Hu. Seeing Zhen Wushuang and the other 2 arrive, the green-robed woman quickly bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, my lords. Yuna, hurry up and bow." The green-clothed woman urged the white-robed young man. "Greetings, my lord." The white-robed young man also reacted and saluted. "My lord." Zhen Wushuang was stunned at first, but then he immediately reacted. The muscles on his face began to tremble, and in the blink of an eye, he had returned to his original appearance. "Big sister, look, who am I?" "Sister." The green-clothed woman was stunned, then she looked up at Zhen Wushuang. Although it had been so many years, his extremely familiar and friendly appearance had not changed much. The green-clothed woman immediately recognized Zhen Wushuang. "You are my 3rd brother?" The green-clothed woman's voice was excited. "It's me, sister." Zhen Wushuang laughed. In this life, besides his parents, he had an elder sister and an elder brother. This elder sister was Zhuobing, the woman in green. Chapter 34-44 Reunion. Are you really my 3rd brother? Zhuobing was still in disbelief. It was not her fault. After all, her impression of Zhen Wushuang was still in the Golden House 9 Realms, a small witch desert region. At that time, although Zhen Wushuang was extremely talented, his strength was only at the level of a divine master. At that time, an immortal saint was like a god and even existed only in legends. Now, after so many years, they had also come to the demon region. In this place, the immortal saint was nothing. There were many top-notch immortal saints here, so Zhuobing naturally learned a lot. Because of this, she was unable to associate the shocking expert in front of her with her 3rd brother, who had killed Kai Hu easily, and even the city protection army could not do anything to him. The gap between them was too big. "Elder sister, look carefully. I am your 3rd brother, the real one," Zhen Wushuang said with a smile. Zhuobing stared at Zhen Wushuang for a while and finally confirmed it. "3rd brother, I finally meet you." Zhuobing immediately became excited. At the same time, she pulled the delicate white-robed young man beside her and said, "Yuna, quick, call me uncle." Qiu Yun was a little stunned at first, but he immediately reacted and called him uncle. After calling him uncle, his expression became strange again. "This big shot who dared to kill Kai Hu is my uncle?" Qiu Yun was confused. Looking at the mother and son, Zhen Wushuang indeed smiled faintly and could not help thinking of the scene in the desert region. At that time, Zhuobing was very tough, but after coming to the demon region, where experts were as numerous as clouds, it seemed that her character had been erased. It was obvious that she had become a married woman and had a child. Elder sister, how are father and mother? Jian Wushuang asked. They are very good, but they often talk about you and worry about you. Now, if they know that you have come, they will be very happy. Zhuo Bing smiled and said, let's go, third brother, I will take you to see them. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded and immediately followed. On the other side of the floating fire city, there was a residential area where many human cultivators lived. Zhuo Bing brought Jian Wushuang to a courtyard near the center. Third brother, we live here. Father and mother are also here, Zhuo Bing said. Okay, I have already sensed it. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. His soul power had already sensed two familiar auras in the center of the courtyard. These two auras were her parents in this life, Zhuo Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin. It seems that father and mother are doing well. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Come, let's go in. Zhuo Bing immediately led Jian Wushuang into the courtyard. As soon as they entered the courtyard, Zhuo Bing immediately shouted, Father, mother, look, who is back? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Who is it? A voice came from the room. When Zhuo Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin walked out of the room and saw Jian Wushuang, they were both stunned. Father, mother, Embark. Jian Wushuang directly knelt down. His body trembled and he was a little excited. Shuang. Zhuo Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin were immediately pleasantly surprised. Get up, you child, Luo Xinqin quickly helped Jian Wushuang up. Father, mother, I've been unfilial. I've made you suffer, Jian Wushuang said. It's good that you're back, Zhuo Yunfeng said with a smile. A moment later, the group sat down in the hall. Shuang, your mother has been worried about your safety all these years. She was afraid that you would run into danger while you were traveling alone. I've told her many times that you're going to become a top expert, so you must go through the necessary hardships. You just need to find a way to get over it, but she hasn't listened to you, Zhuo Yunfeng said. How dare you say that to me? Aren't you the same? Luo Xinqin rolled her eyes at Zhuo Yunfeng, who was also embarrassed. This scene made Jian Wushuang feel warm. After exchanging a few words, Jian Wushuang asked, Father, mother, how have you been these years? Not bad. Zhuo Yunfeng said, when we were in the Witch Desert region, we were picked up from the Witch Desert region. After several years, we were sent here. After we were sent here, Miss Xiao saw us in person and bought us a courtyard in the floating fire city. After that, we lived here all these years. There are many experts in this place, but because of the city protection army, no one dares to mess around in the city. Therefore, although we are weak, we won't encounter any threats in the city. At least, no one will come to find trouble with us. Not long after we settled down, your elder sister met your brother-in-law. They were like equals, so they got married and then had Yuner. Brother-in-law? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Who is my brother-in-law? Your brother-in-law is Qiu Mo, a human cultivator. He is the deputy director of a chamber of commerce in the fluttering fire city. He has a high position in the chamber of commerce. Miss Xiao has been protecting us all these years. With your brother-in-law around, our lives are quite comfortable, Zhuo Yunfeng said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. What he was most worried about was the situation and safety of his family members. Now that he knew that they had been doing well, Jian Wushuang felt relieved. Father, since you have dealt with Miss Xiao and have been protected by her all these years, how much do you know about her? Jian Wushuang asked. Well, Zhuo Yunfeng revealed a strange expression. Shuang, I sent Miss Xiao your friend. You should know more about her than us, right? Hearing this, Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. To tell you the truth, I'm only an ally of Miss Xiao, but I don't know much about her identity and background. I asked him to take you away because I didn't have time to think about it. Is that so? Zhuo Yunfeng's brows raised. Following that, he said with a serious expression, Actually, we don't know much about this Miss Xiao's background. We only know that this Miss Xiao is very strong and her methods are even more formidable. Even the Piahuo city's military lord is extremely respectful when facing this Miss Xiao. I also heard that this Miss Xiao seems to have established a large faction, but we don't know what faction it is. After all, we haven't even been out of Piahuo City since we were picked up here. Chapter 34:45 Decadence. Is that so? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. Miss Xiao was really mysterious. Let's not talk about her. By the way, I have been back for so long, why haven't I seen second brother? Where is he? Jian Wushuang asked. In this life, besides having an elder sister, he also had a second brother, Shuopeng. Your second brother, at the mention of Shuopeng, Shuo Yunfeng's expression became a little strange. What's wrong? Did something happen to second brother? Jian Wushuang frowned. Nothing major happened, but he has been a little dispirited these years, Shuo Yunfeng said. Dispirited? Jian Wushuang was stunned. It's like this, Shuo Bing said, as you know, your second brother is a wild man and doesn't like to live a comfortable life. After he came to Piahuo City, he longed to become an expert because of the excellent cultivation conditions here. Therefore, he worked hard and even entered a small force around Piahuo City to cultivate. But unfortunately, his talent was limited, so his achievements were naturally not that high. He suffered a setback or two. Fortunately, Miss Xiao came forward, so nothing happened. Later on, he also thought things through, so he wanted to live a comfortable life in Piahuo City. And just now, Father also told him to help you. Your brother-in-law is a deputy director in a chamber of commerce in Piahuo City, so he has a certain status. Therefore, your brother-in-law arranged a position for him in that shop. It used to be peaceful, but not long ago, a girl came to the chamber of commerce. She was received by your second brother. It doesn't matter if she was not received, but for some reason, the two of them fell in love with each other. Now, the girl often comes to the Chamber of Commerce and is received by your second brother. The two of them have developed a bond. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang smiled and said, I senti that good. Do you agree with her? It would be good if that's all. But soon, your second brother will know that the girl's background is very big. Shuo Bing continued, the girl is from the Bloodmartin clan, and she is the beloved daughter of the clan leader of the Bloodmartin clan. This background was too powerful. Your second brother was just an ordinary cultivator at the level of a saint, and he didn't have any power or status. He only held some moderate positions in an ordinary chamber of commerce. Naturally, the Bloodmartin clan looked down on your second brother. Therefore, even though that girl was extremely unwilling, after the Bloodmartin clan found out about this, they still forced the two of them to cut off contact. Some experts of the Bloodmartin clan even went out to warn your second brother to stop having any improper thoughts. That girl also returned to the Bloodmartin clan, and she never came to Piahuo City again. After that incident, your second brother became dispirited. He spent all his time drinking and never went to the Chamber of Commerce again. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He had completely understood what had happened. Being trapped by love, especially when you know where your beloved is, but you can't bring him back or keep him by your side. It's really not a good feeling. I can see that my second brother is also a lover. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Third brother, your second brother is really in pain now. Can you find a way to help him? Shuo Bing looked over. But she had just finished speaking. Nonsense. Shuo Yunfeng directly shouted in a low voice, the girl who made your second brother dispirited is the beloved daughter of the Bloodmartin clan's grandmaster. She has a noble status. The Bloodmartin clan is already very merciful to only warn him and make him stop thinking. At this time, what do you want your third brother to do? But father, with my third brother's ability, if he really wants to help, maybe. Shuo Bing had not finished her words. Shut up. Shuo Yunfeng scolded again. Your third brother is quite talented, and he has been adventuring outside these years. Although his strength has improved a lot, he is still a member of the Bloodmartin clan, one of the top tribes in the demon area. Such a tribe is not something that can be easily provoked. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. Shuo Yunfeng had stayed in the fluttering fire city for so many years, so he knew a little about the many clans in the demon region. He knew how terrifying the Bloodmartin clan was, so he reprimanded Shuo Bing. This made Zhuo Bing extremely speechless. At this time, Jian Wushuang finally spoke. Father, don't be anxious. Tell me first, what is the overall strength of the Blood Martin clan? Who is stronger and who is weaker than the Scarlet Gold clan? Although I've been in the Fluttering Fire City all year round, I still know a little about the top clans in the Demon region. It's said that the Blood Martin clan was able to challenge the 4 divine clans at its peak. Although it has declined, it's still a top clan in the Demon region. As for its overall strength, it should be slightly weaker than the Scarlet Gold clan, but it's definitely not much weaker, Shui Yunfeng said. Oh, just like that. Jian Wushuang could not help laughing. Zhuo Bing, who was beside him, also said, my third brother dared to kill Kai Hu, the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan. The Blood Martin clan is not as strong as the Scarlet Gold clan. In front of my third brother, they are nothing. What did you say? When Zhuo Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin heard this, they were both stunned. You just said, who did Shuang'er kill? Zhuo Yunfeng looked at Zhuo Bing in shock. Kai Hu is the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan. Zhuo Bing said, today, in Piahuo City, that Kai Hu had a small conflict with Yun'er, so he humiliated Yun'er on the street. At this time, third brother rushed over and killed Kai Hu and his followers without saying a word. You mean, Shuang'er killed people in Piahuo City? And killed the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan? Zhuo Yunfeng's eyes were wide open. Yes, but my third brother clearly violated the rules of Piahuo City. However, the City Protection Army of Piahuo City, including the commander of the City Protection Army, didn't dare to attack my third brother. They said that even if my third brother killed Kai Hu, it would be in vain. After that, many top clans in the Demon region, including the Scarlet Gold clan, wouldn't dare to come and find trouble with my third brother, Zhuo Bing said. Is this true? Zhuo Yunfeng looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. Yes, it's true. Jian Wushuang smiled. Father, I can tell you that if nothing goes wrong, I can absolutely do whatever I want in the Demon region. Even if I kill a young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan in Piahuo City, the top clans in the Demon region can only watch and do nothing to me. As for the Blood Martin clan, they are nothing more than that. Hearing this, Zhuo Yunfeng was a little stunned. Jian Wushuang looked at Zhuo Bing and said, Elder sister, where is second brother now? Let him come over first. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 34-46 Marriage Proposal. Yun'er, go and call your uncle over, Zhuo Bing ordered. Yes. Qiu Yun nodded and immediately went out of the courtyard. Before long, Qiu Yun and Zhuo Peng came back together. Third brother. When Zhuo Peng saw Jian Wushuang, he immediately revealed an ecstatic expression and rushed over to give Jian Wushuang a hug. Second brother, long time no see. Jian Wushuang also smiled. You also said that you haven't heard anything for so many years. We were worried about you, Zhuo Peng said. Aren't you back safely? Jian Wushuang smiled and said, by the way, I heard from father that you encountered some trouble. Father told you? Zhuo Peng glanced at Jian Wushuang and then sighed. Although Ying-er and I agreed to marry her, the gap between our statuses is too big. Let's ignore the gap between our statuses for now. Second brother, let me ask you, do you want to marry her? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, of course, I want to marry her. Even in my dreams, I want to marry her, but she is a member of the Blood Martin clan and the daughter of the clan leader of the Blood Martin clan, Zhuo Peng said. I told you to ignore your statuses for now. Since you want to marry her, it's easy, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Third brother, do you have a way? Zhuo Peng looked at Jian Wushuang expectantly. Of course, and it's very simple. You just need to go with me to the Blood Martin clan to propose marriage. Then I will help you bring your sweetheart back. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Really? Zhuo Peng's eyes lit up. Of course it's true. Second brother, I'm afraid you don't know that third brother is now standing at a height that we can't imagine. Today, he killed Kai Hu, the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan, on the spot, in Piahuo City. But the city protection army of Piahuo City didn't dare to do anything to him. Vuz with third brother's current strength and status, if he goes to the Bloodmartin clan to propose marriage, I'm afraid the Bloodmartin clan won't dare to disrespect him, Shuabing said. He killed the young grandmaster of the Scarlet Gold clan in Piahuo City, and has still fine? Shuapeng immediately became fanatical. Third brother, second brother, why don't you make some preparations? Well, go to the Bloodmartin clan now, how about it? Jian Wushuang said. Okay, of course, I'll make some preparations right away. Shuapeng became excited and immediately began to make preparations. Zhua Yunfeng looked at Jian Wushuang and said, Shuang isn't it too rushed to go to the Bloodmartin clan to propose marriage right now? Besides, since we're going to propose marriage, we must prepare the betrothal gifts, but we haven't prepared the betrothal gifts yet. Don't worry, I have the betrothal gifts. I promise I won't let my future sister-in-law suffer, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He had killed so many experts, including several principals masters, and even the Nether Master. As a top principals master, the Flame Divine Guard naturally had a lot of treasures and resources. As long as he took out some of them as betrothal gifts, the Bloodmartin clan would be tempted. Third brother, can you take me with you to propose marriage this time? Shuabing suddenly asked. I want to go too, Qiu Yun also said. Jian Wushuang could not help smiling. If you want to go, of course. Father, mother, why don't you go together? Well, Zhua Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin looked at each other, and then Zhua Yunfeng said with a smile, then let's go together. Let's go and pick up the daughter-in-law of our Zhua family. Yuna, go and call your father, Shuabing said. Okay. Qiu Yun immediately went. Not long after, Jian Wushuang left the drifting fire city with his family and went to the clanland of the Bloodmartin clan. The clanland of the Bloodmartin clan was not far from Piahuo City, but it took Jian Wushuang more than half a day to get there with Zhua Yunfeng and the others. Is this the territory of the Bloodmartin clan? Jian Wushuang looked at the vast territory covered by the restriction. The range of the restriction was so wide that it covered almost a whole and huge mountain range. Because of the restriction, even Jian Wushuang could not see the scene below. This restriction seems to be quite strong, Jian Wushuang said calmly. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. I've heard of the Bloodmartin clan. A long time ago, the Bloodmartin clan was only a medium-sized clan in the Demon region. But later, because of this Bloodmartin clan, a very powerful expert appeared. It's said that his strength has reached the peak of the 6 Void Realms, and is even infinitely close to the peak of the 6 Void Realms. It was under his leadership that the Bloodmartin clan became the top clan. At that time, they even dared to challenge the 4 great divine clans. However, after the strongest expert of the Bloodmartin clan left the divine beginning realm and ventured into the depths of the universe battlefield, the strength of the Bloodmartin clan gradually declined. Until now, they have only managed to maintain their position as a top clan. Now, the restriction covering the entire ancestral land should be created by the strongest expert of the Bloodmartin clan, said Demon Master Chunhua. Infinitely close to the pinnacle of the 6 Void Realms. Isn't that the same as you? Jian Wushuang glanced at Demon Master Chunhua. Demon Master Chunhua only raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. Second brother, you go. With me here to support you, you don't need to be afraid or worried. Just tell me why you're here, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Zhua Peng took a deep breath and rushed toward the entrance of the Bloodmartin clan. Jian Wushuang stayed in the void above and watched everything below. Zhua Peng went directly to the entrance. Before he got close, someone stopped him. Who is it? Several saint-level members of the Bloodmartin clan were guarding the entrance. They stared at Zhua Peng with cold faces. I am Zhua Peng. I am from Piahuo City. This time, I am here to propose marriage, Zhua Peng said solemnly. Propose marriage? The few members of the Bloodmartin clan were stunned at first, but then they burst into laughter. Kid, did you go to the wrong place? You are an immortal saint of the human race, yet you came to my Bloodmartin clan to propose marriage? Who in my Bloodmartin clan would fancy you? The one I want to propose marriage is your Blood Martin clan's Princess Ying. You can just call her out, Shuapeng said. What a joke. What status does my princess have? Why would she like a human kid like you? You're clearly scheming against us. Hurry up and scram, one of the Blood Martin clansmen immediately berated. But at this moment, what's going on? A low voice sounded. At the entrance, an evil-looking man in a black robe walked out with his hands behind his back. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.